Good afternoon. How can I help you?
Hi, my name is Stacy Lloyd. I've been a member of this bank for about 5 years. I'm interested in opening an investment account here, but I don't know much about investing.
Okay, well, I'm the right person to come to. I'm a financial advisor, and I help people start investing in, stocks, bonds, CDs, mutual funds.
I don't even know what half those things are.
That's okay. That's what I'm here for. Tell me a little bit about your goals, and then I can tell you about some of the options.
Well, I just got a raise, and I want to start saving some money. I want a better place to keep my money than my savings account.
Okay. So you already know that your money in your savings account doesn't earn you very much interest. It's very safe, but it's not a good place to grow your money. What are you saving your money for?
Well, I know it's a long way off, but I'd like to buy a house one day, maybe in 5 or 10 years.
Okay. Now's actually a very good time to begin saving for a big expense like a house. Before we talk about that, do you have any debt, credit cards or loans, money that you owe?
Yeah, I used to spend a lot of money with my credit card. I'm still working on paying it off.
That might be the best place to start then. Almost always people with credit card debt should pay it off before investing their money in other ways. The interest, that's the amount of money you pay your credit card company for the use of their money, is very high. Often 10 or even 20%. You really can invest your money in stocks or bonds and expect to do better than just paying off your credit card.
Really? I never thought about it like that, but that makes sense.
After you pay off your credit card debt, look for accounts that will keep your money safe while it grows. If you're planning to use the money in less than 5 years, I recommend a certificate of deposit, a CD. You can get a CD at any bank. Right now, you'll earn about 4%. It's always changing, though. I've seen it as low as 1% and as high as 8%. CDs are not very exciting, but they're a good, safe place to keep your money. You invest in CDs for a certain amount of time, 6 months, a year, 2 years. The problem is that you can't take your money out until the time is done.
So I can't write checks from it. What if I need the money sooner?
No. If you want an account where you can easily get to your money and use it, I'd suggest a money market checking account. That's an investment account that you can use like a checking account. The problem is that the rate isn't usually as high. Right now, it's around 1 or 2%.
Okay. What else is there that's safe but earns well?
Good question. You could also consider a U.S. Treasury bill or note. Those are investments you make in the U.S. Treasury. Some can have pretty good interest rates. And again, you need to be able to leave your money there for a length of time, just like a CD.
What about stocks? I heard you can earn a lot of money fast with stocks.
Well, it's possible, but you can also lose a lot of money fast. Stocks are a great choice when you want to invest for a longer time. But if you hope to buy a house in a few years, you really need something safer. The stock market can be a big risk. You could win or you could lose very quickly. However, you could definitely consider investing in some stocks or mutual funds as part of a retirement account.
Retirement? I'm only 25 years old. I'm too young to think about that.
Well, you're not, actually. If you want to retire with a good income, now is the perfect time to get a retirement account started. Some people like to have a part of their paycheck directly put into their retirement account so they don't have to worry about it.
Okay, that's good to know. So, you recommend I pay off my credit card debt first and then invest in a CD and maybe get a retirement account started.
Right. I know there's a lot to think about, but you don't need to make a decision today. I'm here every day if you have any other questions or if you want to get started on any of the investments I've suggested.
Excellent. I'll do that. Thank you so much.
No problem. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Okay, let's get started. I've invited a guest speaker to our class today. His name is Dr. Herman Nash, and he's a historical linguist. Dr. Nash is going to talk to us about the topic of language change. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Nash.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Can you begin by telling us what a historical linguist does?
Well, one of the things we do is study how languages change over time. You all may or may not notice it, but the languages we speak, no matter what languages they are, they don't stay the same for very long. They're always changing. Some of these changes are easy to observe. For instance, new words are being added to our language all the time to meet the needs of speakers. For instance, words relating to technology like fax or cell phone are recent additions to English. They haven't been around very long at all. And think about words related to computers and the internet. They're also constantly appearing. I mean, who knew what a podcast or a blog was even a few years back? Now, there are other types of language change that are more difficult to notice because they're much more gradual. They come about over long periods of time, and they're only really noticeable when we compare language samples from, say, different centuries. For instance, if we compare the English we speak today to the English spoken by, say, William Shakespeare in the 16th century, we'd see lots of differences, different words, different pronunciation, even different grammar.
Excuse me, Dr. Nash. May I ask a question?
Sure.
So, over the next 200 years, we can expect many new words to be added to English. But will English continue to change as much as it has in the past? I mean, will many of the words we use now be replaced by new words in 200 years? Will the grammar be different?
Well, it's hard to predict exactly how a language will change over that much time. We know that new words will be developed. One of the interesting ways that this happens is through slang, informal expressions that are typically used by a small number of people. Oftentimes, a slang term starts to become more and more common until it eventually becomes part of the standard language used by the majority of speakers. Another way that a language changes is when words are borrowed from other languages. For instance, a large number of the English words we use nowadays were originally borrowed from French. These processes will continue to take place in the future. So, yes, English may be very different in 200 years.
That's very interesting. Now, I've heard it said that some of the changes happening in English are not necessarily good. Don't some people believe that English is being corrupted? That it's changing for the worse and, well, getting dumbed down?
Yes, people have been saying that for centuries. One important thing to remember is that language change is a natural process. It has always taken place, and I don't see any reason to see this as a process of corruption or deterioration. Over history, people have often taken a negative attitude toward language change, and there have been many attempts to stop the changes from taking place. To give you a recent example, in 1994, the French government instructed its citizens not to corrupt French by using terms like le computer or le Walkman, words that have been borrowed from English. Needless to say, most attempts like these to stop language change have failed.
Have any attempts been made to keep English from changing?
Yes. Two famous examples are Jonathan Swift, the 18th century British writer, and Samuel Johnson, who wrote a dictionary of the English language in 1755. Swift wrote a famous essay calling for the establishment of an official organization with the authority to declare what is proper and what is not proper English. As for Johnson, well, he has a famous quote in the preface to his dictionary in which he says, "Languages, like governments, have a natural tendency to degeneration. We have long preserved our constitution. Let us make our struggles for our language."
Interesting. Well, I don't think we all speak like Samuel Johnson did, so I guess his warning didn't help much.
No, I guess not.
Thank you, Dr. Nash. Does anyone have any questions?